We've started a Youth Academy only challenge with Catanzaro in Serie B of Italy. We started pretty well. We got ourselves promoted to Serie A. We brought through a few exciting young players, but the best finish we achieved was 13th, meaning there's still a very long way to go. In today's video, our quest continues. The aim is to win Serie A or the Champions League. It's not going to be easy, but we sort of love it that way, don't we? Come on. Welcome back then to our Catanzaro Youth Academy only adventure. We are in season number 5, about to begin our 5th season here after finishing 13th last year. This was the end of last season's table. It was a solid, it was actually 14th last season. We finished, I think, 13th the year before that. A solid season of 42 points, well above the relegation zone. And that's kind of been the pattern, hasn't it, so far? Not doing too much, but doing enough to stay in the league. I'm hoping that we can start to make progress on that in today's video because we do have some exciting players coming through. The star man has been so far Gianluca Zilli. He's now 17 and he's become a very established player in this team already. It's going to have to be the way that we do things. If they're good enough, they're old enough, they're in the team, the more games they play, hopefully that means the more that they develop. I think this guy is a good example of that because he's really developing. And yeah, by the way, I've given him a real face. One of the comments in the last video did say to maybe give them proper faces, so I've gone and done that for some of the players that are in the team as of now. So Campani's got a face, that new 6'5" striker that we got in our intake last season. I'm very excited about this one. I love a tall striker. He can finish already. He's 15. Yes, he looks a little bit older than 15, but he's going to grow into this sort of very old looking face. Promise you on that one. And he's a promising striker. I don't know what that media description means. Will he become a wonder kid? I'm hoping so. He looks like he should be pretty good. He's got high potential too. And if we play him enough, I think he can develop, which I kind of feel like I've proved can happen with the development of this man, Pietro Mattasera. I really didn't think he was up to much when we used him at the very beginning. But now after 88 games, I'm confident and happy to use him as our left back for the next 10 years. He's 20 and he's become a really vital player for us. And it's taught me a bit of a Football Manager lesson. I know some of you guys in the comments were saying you do these saves all the time. And by the way, thank you for all the comments and the reception to the last video. It's been overwhelmingly positive and I'd just love to see it. I really appreciate you guys. If you're not subscribed, by the way, please subscribe to the channel because there'll be more of this. Loads of really helpful comments, which I'm going to try and take on board in today's video. This isn't a save that I've really done loads of before, the Youth Academy stuff, especially not completely relying on the Youth Academy anyway. Usually with San Marino challenges and things like that, I've been able to sign other players and bring the best ones in. This is slightly different and there's loads of little ways that you can min-max things. I think we've made a good start, but things like bringing in affiliate clubs and things like not trusting the stars on those intakes, I'm learning alongside you guys. So thank you so much for being so nice in the comments. It is genuinely appreciated. I'd call myself a good Football Manager player, but you can always learn and I'm happy to take on advice and things like this for specifics like this because there are specific things that you should be doing in a Youth Academy challenge that I'm now sort of learning about. One of them is not to write off players because they can really develop and without knowing their exact potential number, players like Pietro Mattasera might have been written off, but he's become super useful. So players like him and Paolo Torti, who I didn't think was up to much either, now at 18, is becoming a really good player for us. He could easily be one of our midfield 3, maybe the slightly more defensive one. The problem is a lot of the time they're going to have missing attributes, but they might make up for it in other places. For example, Paolo Torti, I'd love to use him as the defensive midfielder, but he can't tackle. Is that the biggest problem in the world? Probably not, because if his positioning is really good, maybe his tackling doesn't need to be as strong. And beggars can't be choosers in a save like this. We need to build the best team we can with the players that we've got. A great example of that is Ferruccio Rollo, who I wrote off completely, didn't I think, in the youth intake, because he was 5'9". By the way, he's grown. He's 5'10" now, so big cheer for Ferruccio. I wrote this guy off completely, and I now look at him and think, he might actually go on to be a really important player for us. He's got horrible cons. He can't jump, but actually he's got decent heading, good marking, good tackling. Positioning's good. He's really brave. I wish his anticipation was a bit higher, but actually maybe this guy will be a defender for us. Even if he's not strong and he can't jump, maybe that strength will come along. I don't think he's going to grow too much more and get the jumping reach, but I'm going to be very open-minded as we go through the seasons here. Players like Thomas Evans, our random Welshman who's come through our youth intake, maybe he can become a regular. Maybe he will have to become a regular because I keep saying it, beggars can't be choosers. This is the side that we're going to have. I'm actually very excited to progress through a few more seasons and for this team that we've built here become entirely new gen based, and we'll really then be able to get to know the characters that we've got in our squad. We'll have our favourites, we'll have some villains develop, and that is going to be the magic of this save, I think. So I think that's the context we all need. With this squad chosen, this is our first team squad from Campani, the star striker, Zilli in the midfield, and then the older defence with Matacera on the left-hand side. Gargano, by the way, he's up to 35 games now. He was our first new gen. I didn't think he was very good at all, but he's doing all right as our goalkeeper. Let's go and see if we can make progress on the pitch now. I will continue to ask for an improvement to the youth facilities and the training facilities if I get the option. I may even go searching for that first affiliate club. Right now, though, let's go play some matches, and I'll see you for the very exciting update at the start of January, end of December, of our youth intake preview. I'm hoping for another golden generation because why not? I'll see you then. No advert on today's video, but I wanted to do a sort of advert of my own. I want to advertise to you guys my Twitch channel. Now, some of you will already know that I stream on Twitch fairly regularly. Some of you may have never checked that out. Some of you will love to watch Twitch streams. Some of you will not. However, I just wanted to tell you about what we're currently up to on the Twitch channel, because I think it's a really interesting save that if you like this Youth Academy only save, you might be interested in the one we're doing on Twitch as well. It is a multi-club save, meaning we are the head of football and we are overseeing the management of 3 teams at one go in the same save. So think of us as like Jurgen Klopp, who is the head of football at Red Bull. We are the head of football at Spineless Energy, a rival energy drink brand that has taken over Wolfsberger in Austria, Wolfsburg in Germany, and then most recently Wolves in the Premier League. Transfer windows have never been so hectic as I move players between the 3 teams and try and build the best possible teams. We are into season number 4 now, and I really feel like if you jumped in now, you would really enjoy it too. So quick one from me. So if you find that interesting, we'd love to have you along. I usually stream on a weekend morning at about 10 a.m. and then perhaps some other streams dotted into midweek as well. Alternatively, if you go to the second channel, Clayts 2, you will find all of the VODs from that save so far if you wanted to catch up and watch them over there as well. Anyway, I just thought I'd jump in and advertise that to you in the absence of an actual sponsorship. I appreciate you guys listening. Let's get back to the video. All right, welcome to January of 2028, where we now have our youth intake preview. Before I show you that youth intake preview and find out if we're going to have another golden generation that might mean it's really good or might just mean that it's sort of average, a couple of updates for you, mainly in that we're having a pretty good season so far. These are our results from the start of the season. After drawing that first game against Lazio, we got ourselves a 3-0 win against Venezia. Van der Putter has been really important again so far this year. Pasqualini scored a goal there. We then went 3 games of drawing them all and then lost to Roma. And then 2 wins in a row, including beating Inter Milan again. We were doing the business against them. It's pretty good to see. We then lost to Napoli, beat Torino, but overall there's a lot more wins in here than there usually are. It means that after about half of the season, we're 9th in the league. We're in the top half. We're a top half Serie A team. That to me says progress is happening here. We've got 27 points on the board already. We're 12 points clear of relegation. And at this stage, I will take that, because even if we go on a bad run, which can happen, we're clear of that relegation zone. The sooner we get clear of relegation, the more I think I'm going to force in some of our young players. Now, I'll show you some of the stats on here. Zilli has played pretty much every game. Matacera has played every game, as you can see here. This Calaro, by the way, is a problem. I'm not sure he's good enough. Right back might be something that I need to look at. We've got Dongia, who is 16. I'm wondering if it's time to sort of bring him in and start him ahead of the real player of Calaro. There's probably not that much between them. I might start doing that now a little bit more. You can see he's played one start and then 4 sub appearances. Our main man has been Van der Putter, who you can see didn't play the last game, because I'm trying to give game time to Spinelli. I've sort of decided that maybe we should use Spinelli to the right as a right-sided inside forward, even though he is right-footed. I don't want to move him to here because, you know, when you change a position, apparently that can eat away some of their potential ability. I'm kind of clinging on to every bit of potential ability that these players have. So maybe using him on the right-hand side and then using up front Campani a little bit more. He's not played loads because he's so young still. He's only 16 now. He's actually got downward arrows. Maybe I should just commit to it and play him for the rest of this season. I'm trying to balance between overplaying them and giving them enough first team experience so that they actually develop. We've managed to get that right with a few of the players. Pasqualini is one that really kicked on and became a first team regular. Zilli's done that. Torti seems to be doing that at the moment, by the way. He's played 13 games in the first half of this season. I was talking about his tackling. There is an up arrow next to it. So hopefully that means he'll get more than 7 tackling, that we can actually use him in midfield one day. That would be lovely. But being able to balance bringing these youngsters in and doing well in the league is a fine balance. And I think at the moment we're doing okay. I think, as I say, trying to get ourselves nice and safe and then maybe giving ourselves a bit more rope to use these youngsters might be the way to go. I suppose the other thing we need to now look at is, do we have more good youngsters on their way to the club? By checking our youth candidates preview, and we have got 4A positions. So these are going to be our elite talents. It says this is a terrific group of players coming through and has the potential to be a real golden generation for the club. Now that is great. We've talked about this a lot in the last video. Golden generation just means that we're going to get some players that might have potential that could make them first team players relative to the squad that we've got at the moment. There was a comment that said we need to be looking for a sentence that mentions things like being the best of his generation. Then you know you've got a truly high potential player. Now, I'm kind of trying to think back, and maybe you guys can help me. Have we had that sentence at any point during this save so far? Because it'd be nice to know if players like Zilli had that, or potentially Spinelli, who looks like he's got really high potential, or even, I suppose, Campani, who's another one who's got super high potential on here. I mean, that looks great, doesn't it, on paper? If you just sort them by potential of our first team squad here, it looks like we're going to have an amazing team. We just know that that isn't quite the reality of this. Because if I show you, and I'm not writing off the player, if I show you here, De Vita, who's apparently got the top potential in the squad, according to this here, like, he looks really good. Is he going to make it to top Serie A winger potential? Probably not, although he does actually look good. He's got good pace and he does have good physicals already. He might be one that I need to play a little bit more. He has played some games, by the way. 12 games so far this season, most of them coming off the bench, but he's one that hopefully is developing based on this. Again, so many of the comments said you can't really know how good a player is until you've given them time to develop, and then you find out how good they are. You just have to try and develop every single player as much as possible. We've got good fullbacks then. We have a top prospect in the centre of midfield. That seems more promising than just having plenty of promise here. At least one of our wide midfields looks like a great prospect. That sounds all right. And there's an attacking midfielder we should keep an eye on. That doesn't sound as good. Now, I'm just reading into the words that are being used here. Again, we'll just see them when they come through and we can make a decision on them then. A fine prospect as an attacker, but even some of these other positions that have only got a B or a C on here, it might be okay. The proof is just going to be in the pudding, isn't it? And I am now looking forward to that pudding in April. Another update before we go and continue and play through to April is to say that the training facilities did get improved in October. We are up to a 4.5-star training facilities club now. It's very good. This should give us the best chance of developing our players that are playing for us. We've got the 5-star youth recruitment. 3.5-star youth facilities is the same. However, they have said yes to improving them again. It is about to be completed in 5 days. So in the next update, I'll be able to show you how much we have improved things from 3.5 stars. I imagine it'll go to 4 stars, but 4 stars is good. If I look at other Serie A teams, what's AC Milan's? AC Milan have 4.5 star. And we'd be only 0.5 star off them. Inter Milan, they do have 5 stars. What about Juventus? 5 stars at the top of there as well. I want to see other teams around us. Fiorentina, 4.5 stars. Are we better than any of the decent teams? Atalanta have good 5 stars as well. Yeah, maybe not. We've got better facilities than Parma. We'll take that as a win. What about Venezia? Better facilities than Venezia as well. The point I'm making is that we are now genuinely competitive in terms of our facilities with the other teams in our league. And that can only hold us in good stead. So they also did say yes to another improvement to the training facilities, which will take us to 5-star training facilities as well, which is very, very nice indeed. I've not been able to find an affiliate club. I did ask and they did say no. I didn't push it too much because one of the things that I'm thinking is if we're having a good season here, we're going to hopefully improve our reputation to 4 stars. If I, again, show you other teams around us, Torino, who are 6 at the moment, have 4-star reputation. I think the quality of the affiliate club is going to be better if we have a better reputation. So I'm going to wait until the end of this season to ask again. I don't think there's too much rush on it, and I know that you can get loads of affiliate clubs, but it is something that I'm working on. They said no the last time. Let's see if they say yes at the end of the season, I think. Anyway, for now, let's get ourselves up to April and find out what these players are going to be like. It's youth intake time. It's the 31st of March. We've got our intake a little bit earlier this year. I think this is our 4th youth intake of the save. We didn't get one in season 1, did we? Except for the goalkeeper, Gargano. Here he is, by the way. Doing very well. Shocking me. Surprising me in a very pleasant way. Well done, Eduardo Gargano. Let's check out then what we've got to muster, as you also will notice that we're 12th in the league. We're doing fine. We've dropped a little bit from earlier in the season. We've lost a few games. 30 games in, 36 points. We are still 9 points clear of relegation. And I'd love to make progress and really shoot up the league. I'd love to finish above 13th this year, because that would actually feel, that would be our best finish. 13th is our best. We've been very consistently here for the pole save so far. Let's find out, though, what we've got to work with in terms of the next generation by going to our youth intake here and having a look at these players. There are loads of them that have made their way into the elite talents category, which is slightly different to what the intake preview actually told us. We definitely had, I think it was the fullback, the winger, the striker. In fact, the striker was a B, I think, rather than an A. So he might be the extra one that's in here. These are our players there. We've got Alessio Pepe. We've got a Kosovan, Giuliano Malai, probably. Christian Gaetano, Daniele Pau, Ivan Kierlia, Claudio Islami, who is an Albanian, and Christian Menino in the elite talents. These guys are actually top talents as well, who look like they might actually be good too. I will check out all of them. Some good talents. And then finally, Jacopi Corsini, who's absolutely rubbish. He is one that I'm willing to say. Do you know what, actually, that's not even true. I was going to say this is one that we can definitely write off. He's got really good determination, okay teamwork work rate, very naturally fit. He might make an appearance for us. That's sort of the way that this save goes, isn't it? But he probably won't. Let's say that. Let's have a look at these main guys then. By the way, we did improve our youth facilities. They're up to 4 stars. And we did improve our training facilities. They are up to 5 stars. We've got state-of-the-art training facilities. This could be a huge plus if we can maintain it. I'm now dreading the day when we get our facilities downgraded, because that is just the thing that happens, isn't it? But we're looking good in terms of facilities. Let's have a look at these players. Alessio Pepe, goalkeeper, only 5'10". Could still make it, I suppose. Could grow a little bit as well. He's got really good reflexes. I bang that drum all the time that reflexes is my most prioritized attribute for a goalkeeper. By the way, would you like to see a video where I go through each position and talk about the most important attributes for each of those positions? Because I definitely have my own opinions on those things. I don't know whether they are tried and tested, the absolute meta for those, but I definitely have my own personal ones. So I don't know, let me know if that'd be a type of video you'd like to see. Maybe try and do it in less than 10 minutes and do all of them. I don't know. Right now though, Alessio Pepe looks like he might develop into a good goalkeeper. I'm a bit disappointed in his height. Attacking midfielder. Now this is actually a really good point that somebody made. We are getting a lot of number 10s, a lot of attacking midfielders come through our youth intake. That is annoying because we don't play with an attacking midfielder in our team. And somebody asked, is that because of your head of youth development? If I go to my head of youth development, his favoured formation is 4-4-2, so it shouldn't be, really. I don't think these things quite line up. I think you're just going to get players who play in different positions regardless. It'd be really nice if our head of youth development had a preferred formation of 4-3-3 like we actually play. But I think I'd rather sacrifice that than these here. He's got really good working with youngsters and good knowledge, and he's the model citizen. So I think those things are more important. And the fact he's Italian, I think we can sacrifice the preferred formation, especially as a lot of these positions will be transferable. Maybe we're lacking the wingers on this. Is that why we're not getting loads of wingers through? We are getting some wingers through, so maybe that doesn't even always line up like that way anyway. But I thought it was worth talking about because it was a comment that we did receive. Malai is that number 10. Really good first touch and technique. Good determination. He is fairly determined, which is fine. Physical's a bit low. Physicals will grow though. 16 years old. Good vision. Passing is 10 as well. 7 decisions, 7 dribbling are kind of like the standout poor ones for the position that he plays. I mean, he'd struggle maybe if we drop him deeper into our system because of this tackling, this work rate maybe, but he can still grow. You may notice I'm very deliberately not writing these players off because I think I've been humbled with that. Players have proved me wrong in this save even, so maybe Malai will come good. He's one of the players that is 1.5 stars of ability now, so he's useful for the senior team at this point. Maybe slightly ahead of Christian Gaetano. Gaetano's interesting because he's a defender. If there is a position or a group of positions on the pitch that we are looking for, it is defenders. Left back, we're kind of sorted because we've got Matasera, but right back especially we're really looking for. He's left-footed and decent physicals already. Good teamwork. I like a good teamwork work rate combo for a left back or a right back. Can't really tackle. Definitely can't cross. It's such a new gen thing, isn't it, for fullbacks not to be able to cross. He, though, we'll keep an eye on. Daniele Pau, young striker, another striker with good pace and acceleration. Really good finishing at 14 at 15 years old. Good composure. Anticipation's a bit low. Technique is okay as well. Not one to rule out. I'm looking at him thinking maybe if he's going to become a wonder kid, maybe he's got slightly better physicals, but the finishing at 14 is interesting. We've got Ivan Kierlia, who is a left winger, left-footed left winger. I'd love to bring through some right-footed left wingers. I feel like that's less likely to happen. I don't know. Does that happen? Like a natural inside forward? I kind of think it isn't. And then you have to then retrain them. And how true is that theory that if you retrain a position, it will eat away at some of the potential ability? I'm assuming that's been tested by the people that like to say that, but maybe we could test it in this save a little bit. He's got decent physicals, actually. Very brave, good dribbling, okay finishing. These other technicals look a bit meh. He's got 1 tackling, but I suppose that's not that important, is it? 8 technique, 6 first touch, 7 crossing. Those aren't great, but pretty good physicals on Ivan. Then we've got Claudio Islami, a left midfielder, defensive, 5'1", diminutive winger. That's a fun one. It's very against what you would usually use, but it doesn't matter as much on the wing, does it? Well, he is actually, if you go to inside forward, he is natural. He is one that then he's right-footed, look. So I've just talked about it. They definitely do come through, even if they are slightly more defensive, as this little guy is. But that you do get right-footed left wingers then. That's good to see. We'll keep an eye on him. And then a defensive midfielder, Christian Menino. I was wondering if he was going to be a defensive midfielder that could play in midfield or one that could also play in defence, because you see both, don't you? He is a central midfielder too, which is good for our system. Can play in either of the 3 or any of the 3 midfield positions that we have. Christian Menino looks okay at this stage, I'll see. But we'll quickly have a look at these guys. Angelo Screamin, great name, is a natural right back, position we're definitely on the hunt for. We'd be comparing him, I suppose, to Diongio. Diongio is our current young right back prospect. Diongio is a long way ahead of him. He is 2 years older though, so you would expect that. If we have a look at the attributes, he's got better decisions, better flair, better teamwork, better work rate. Better teamwork and work rate is important for a right back. The technicals are a bit higher. Physicals are better on Diongio, but he is, again, 2 years older, so one to compare and look out for. And then we've got Mustafa Tiam, Bartolini. Bartolini looks like he might be quite good, actually. Centre-back, really determined, good teamwork. Okay, he's tall enough. He's a left footer too. Maybe he could make it too. I'll get all of these signed. I am generally signing all of them at this stage. There was a lot of people were saying you should sign everybody and just see which ones come good. And then there was somebody also pointed out that at some stage you want to save your wages a little bit by just investing money and time into the better players, because then those players have the best chance of developing. I think until we've got an established side, I think I'm going to try and sign everybody, because I need players, and I know that we're going to need players because we are going to lose the likes of Scognamillo and Calaro and the other players that are real players that are in our team. So a pretty promising intake, actually. Just to show you some of the stats of the players so far then, I did say we've had a little bit of a downturn. We have lost a lot of games recently, just that one win against Lecce, or Salento as I call them. I know that they are Lecce, by the way. Their badge kind of gives that away, doesn't it? But I haven't done the name fix. I actually think I can do the name fix since the save has started. So maybe if you're lucky in the next video, the name fix will be done. I know that annoys some people, but it wasn't my fault. I had the name fix done, and then they delayed FM25, and then all the licenses changed, and teams like AC Milan became casky of it, and I just haven't fixed it since then. So listen, I'm sorry if that annoys you. Maybe next episode, if you're lucky, I'll have applied that name fix again. We'll see. Here's the squad. I've played Campani in 5 games now. He scored 1 goal. Spinelli's doing all right on this right-hand side, although he's currently injured. Loads of games for Torti. Lorenzo D'Angelo is wanted by Chelsea. Now, this is something that I am wondering about. I've decided I don't like him, even though I've tried to force him to play games this year to develop him. He's now 19 and he's all right. The idea that Chelsea want him tells me that he might be quite good. I'm wondering if we get a big bid, do I sell him but try and make sure that there's a future fee involved, or like a sell-on fee or something? I don't know. I feel like he's a bit of a square peg in this team. I don't know what his real role should be. I've been using him as a box-to-box midfielder, but the idea that Chelsea want him is intriguing to me in a monetary sense, but also would it be a bad decision to sell him? He's unambitious. I don't know. Anyway, just an update that we need to keep an eye on. Zilli is also wanted and has requested to move, but he is one that I am not going to sell. He actually needs a new contract. He's got 4 years left. I might try and negotiate a new one, but right now I can't because he's unhappy. A slight worry that we will lose a few of these players, and if we do, it's going to be difficult to cope. That's the only way that we make progress, is if these players develop and do well. Losing them to transfers could be disastrous. I'm braced for it, but I'm just kind of hoping that by locking the doors to the training centre that nobody can buy any of them, and I'm just going to say no to everything and pray as a bit of a tactic. Hopefully that works. Right now, though, I'm going to go and get ourselves to the end of this season, finishing off these games here, and I will let you know how we get on in our 5th season, whether we can improve on our best ever finish of 13th. And we didn't improve on 13th place. We finished 14th. It's a reversion to type, I think is what you could call that. 44 points, well clear of relegation, 9 points clear of the 3rd relegated team, which was Venezia. With some -9 goal difference. A really promising first half of the season became a real dog of a second half of the season, actually. Only a couple of wins. That 4-0 win against Lecce was the first one since the 8th of January. And then we didn't get we got 2 more for the rest of the season. And we beat Fiorentina. We beat Fiorentina 1-0 and we beat Juve Stabia on the last day 3-1. Campani did get 2 goals in this, though. I decided we were basically confirmed in what position we were going to finish in. So I put Campani in. He did score twice. He's now made 12 appearances and got 4 goals. Or 12 starts and got 4 goals. I'm quite impressed by that. Pascalini, by the way, 31 games, 5 goals. Spinelli, 25 games or 25 starts with 4 goals. A lot of those from the right-hand side, look, as an inside forward. Some before that were as a striker, but I'm giving him game time because I think he might just be one of the ones who are truly special. Looking at his growth, in fact, should I show you that growth here? If I go to development and progress, looking at this growth here is kind of making me think we might have a real special one on the cards here. I'd love to know what his sentence was in the youth intake, whether it was one of those ones that suggested he was going to be this good, but he's basically gained an attribute in almost every attribute so far. He's got an extra 2 long shots. He's gone up loads in his physicals, 3 extra strength, look, as he grows a bit older. He's got 16 balance, and that's grown by 2. He's getting a bit faster, 11 pace, 12 acceleration. Maybe that's the thing he needs to improve next. If he gets up to 14, 15 pace acceleration, with his 15 finishing, with his good composure, anticipation, decisions, good heading as well for a 5'9" striker. He's got good traits. I think he would be a really good striker. The only thing that would stop him playing striker for me is the idea that Campani exists. Maybe we need to go to a 2-striker system. I'm debating also loading in a 4-2-3-1 that is the same system, but without the defensive midfielder, and instead having an attacking midfielder in here, number 10 in behind the striker. Or maybe we go 4-2-4. Campani and Spinelli up front, and then do we have another winger other than Van der Putter at the moment? Van der Putter still played 34 games for us and scored 7, but he is aging. He's 32 now. We need to play him until he breaks, pretty much, but he does have a shelf life, doesn't he? Is there another winger? De Vita had good quality, didn't he? Parisi I don't think is all that good. De Vita might be the one. Maybe play De Vita wide and go 2 strikers and use a 4-2-4. Is that a bit attacking? I like the defensive solidity of having the DM in there, even if that DM can't tackle particularly. He is up to 8 tackling. I think it was 7 before. If I go to progress on Torti, I think he's gone up by 1 in his tackling. He has. He's up to 8. Everything else has gone up by loads, by the way. Great growth on him. He's got 5 extra vision. He had 8 vision. He's now got 13. He can actually see. It's fantastic too. He's got 10 passing. There could be a player in him still. That tackling would be lovely. It's not really his natural game, I don't think. He's naturally a Metzala in midfield, or a deep line playmaker, so somebody who's going to spray passes about. He's not necessarily a defensive midfielder, which is what I tend to use if you play in this 6th position, it's usually a defensive midfielder. I really like the role of defensive midfielder on support. The way they get around the pitch is something that I really like. When I use a 4-2-4, I use 2 of these because I think they just provide the most coverage, and they're one of my favourite roles in this year's game. I could change that and make him a deep line playmaker and have the 2 playmakers eventually. Maybe tweaking the tactic rather than trying to shoehorn the players into the tactic is the way to go. The thing that I know, though, is that the tactic is functional because we've managed to get results with quite a poor team with the tactic. So, again, it's balancing everything here and talking through those decisions with you guys, I think, is what makes this different than maybe other content that you might watch somewhere else. That's why we do this long form, because I think there's magic in the decision making in Football Manager, and talking about it, I find it genuinely interesting, and it's sort of the way that I play the game. So, and I feel like you guys enjoy that process as well. Anyway, it's been a good season. What I'm going to go and do now is do another squad audit and have a look at those young players and see if I need to bring any of them into the team for next season. and whether any of these starting players need to drop out now that they're quite old and bring in players like Ferruccio Rollo, or maybe we tweak the tactic or things like that. I'm going to go and sit down and really think about this squad and where it's at right now, the health of the squad as a whole, and come back to start season 6 with a bit of an update on what we're going to go with. And after having a big think about the squad, this is my decision. I'm going to go through the players that I think have the most potential, which players I'm going to try and give more game time this year, which players I've moved out of positions, which players I'm, etc., etc. But before that, there is big news to share with you. I've signed a player, and I don't know how you feel about this. Actually, one of the biggest comments that I had on the last video was, will you be able to sign players that are from Catanzaro, that came through the Catanzaro youth intake? And in my head, my answer instinctively is no. However, something occurred. Lorenzo D'Angelo, you may notice, is now on loan at the club, and that is because we sold him. He did actually go to Chelsea. Chelsea paid £10 million for Lorenzo D'Angelo. And in I just couldn't say no to that type of money. I probably would have said yes to 5 million. We discussed it earlier, didn't we? But I negotiated to 10 million and they said yes. They also, I didn't actually initiate this at all. As part of the deal, they offered the chance to be able to loan him back. And I denied about whether this would be part of the rules or not. And ultimately, I think it is. We are only using players that came through our youth intake. He literally came through our youth intake during the video. And then we've sold him, but we're going to have him for one extra year. I don't even think it's going to necessarily benefit us all that much, except we're going to have a player that is going to maybe turn out quite good in our squad for one more season. I don't know. It feels to me like Chelsea have signed him because he's got high potential. I think he's had high potential from the beginning, but I don't think he's going to reach that potential just because of what type of player he is. Like, he's a natural Ongonch. Like, who uses an Ongonch? And I don't think Chelsea are going to be using an Ongonch under Pochettino here. Although they do have Nkunku. They do play with a number 10, so maybe. They've got Gyökeres up front as well. That's fun, isn't it? I've decided to say yes to the transfer of selling him for 10 million and also yes to loan him back for this season. And I think that kind of works. I have also been having a quick look always just to see, are there any other players that are homegrown at Catanzaro? I suppose another thing that I could do is go place of birth and put in Catanzaro, because would that kind of count? Is there even any players that don't play for it? There is. Antonio Vocaturo was born in Catanzaro, but plays for Inter Milan. It's quite annoying that he didn't come through our intake, because he might be quite good. He's got good potential and good value, actually. So maybe that is annoying. But I just don't think that kind of fits with the plan. I think what we do is, we're going to make it quite strict, is that we can only use the players that come through our youth intake. I even wonder if we sell, so say D'Angelo now moves to Chelsea, later on in the save, could we buy him back? Let me know your thoughts on that, because instinctively I kind of say no, because he becomes a villain in my mind right now. He's betrayed us. He didn't believe in our project that we're building here. He wanted to desert us. You'll notice also Zilly wanted to desert us. He's had a change of mind. He's had a change of heart. Good for him. He's going to stick around, which is nice. Now might be the time, by the way, to get that new contract sorted out for him. I might go and do that straight away, actually. That's kind of how I feel about it. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below, though. D'Angelo will be here this year, and then after that, we bid him farewell, and this is going to be our squad going into this season. The goalkeeper won't actually be Gonella. It will be Gargano again, but there is an injury at the moment for Gargano, so Gonella's going to have to play some games. He's not out for too long, but he's got quite high potential. I think he might end up being better, but I don't know if we're going to give him the game time to make him better. 6'6" and looks pretty good to me. Maybe I should... Let's see how he goes in these 6 games. And then if he does well, maybe we commit to him instead of Gargano. I've become quite fond of Gargano, though. He's been here from the start, played 71 games now. Has conceded 107 goals, though, which is slightly worrying. But we're not very good, which is why we concede a lot of goals. I'm going to commit to Alfonso Dongia as our right back from this point therein. I think he will be a much better player than Calaro, who is 21 now. And he's okay, but I don't think he's quite Serie A quality. So we're going to go Dongia at right back. And then also in defence, I think I'm going to try and give more game time this year to Ferruccio Rollo. He's won me over. Even though he's only little, he's actually 5'10". He's not even short, is he? That's so harsh. He's just not 6 foot plus, and he's a centre back, and I feel like he should be. But I'm going to trust him. His jumping reach is actually apparently on the way up. I assume that has it actually grown? Has that gone up from something else before? It's really difficult to actually remember, isn't it? His jump and reach has gone up by 1. It was 8 and now it's 9. So fair play. Maybe if it goes to 10, all will be forgiven. He's grown an inch as well, which is probably why it's gone up by 1, isn't it? Skognamillo is going to have to play. We could also still use Cranch in there, but I think I'm going to try and commit as much as possible to Rollo in there. There's also Thomas Evans, this bizarre case of this Welshman that came through in our youth intake from Aberbargoed, as I'm reliably told how that's pronounced in the comments. I told you, I read the comments, I promise you. He's one that I also think could end up being quite good for us. He's got really good pros and cons, look. So maybe this is the year to give him more than the 7 games that he got last year. 3 starts, 4 sub appearances. Maybe I need to bring him in. He can actually play right back as well. I don't think he'd be a great right back just because he can't cross and he's not very quick. I think he's more of a centre back. He's also 6'1", so we might need him next to Rollo eventually in this team. But he's one I want to give game time to. We'll stick to Matasera at left back, although he's currently got a little bit of an injury and he's unhappy. He wants to move. But again, lock the doors of the training ground. Don't let them leave. It's fine. Paolo Torti, D'Angelo Zilli. We've had this midfield for a while now. Spinelli on the right. Game time for De Vita. I think it's time. 16 years old. Don't like these injury cons and things on here, but I think it's time to give him some game time in the team. It will be a shame not to use Pasqualani, who looks fairly average, but does just play well for us and plays lots of games for us. He's only 19 as well, but I think rotating those two might be an idea. And then committing full and wholeheartedly to Campani as our striker. He has had a bit of growth as well. This is the year for him, I think. I might bottle that and it'll be a different team when we come back to have a look at how they're doing. But that in my head right now, after my squad audit, is where I stand on this team. I've decided against changing the tactic. I think the players fit quite nicely, even though it's maybe Torti as the defensive midfielder is the issue. I don't think it's a massive problem to put these players into these positions. And I don't want to rip everything up and then things might go badly wrong. The only thing that I might do that I mentioned before is maybe build this 4-2-3-1 very similar so that hopefully the familiarity will still be there. We'll just have an attacking midfielder, maybe for home games, and instead of the defensive midfielder where we can use this against the bigger teams that we're expected to lose against. That's where I'm at right now. It's time though to go and play some games. Oh, quickly before I do, I asked for an affiliate club. They said no. So we move. I'll see you in Jan. Okay, welcome back then to the end of December 2028. And I have good news and I have bad news. I'm going to start with the good news in that there's been a major breakthrough in, I'm hoping, the development of this save. I have managed, when signing a new contract as manager, to negotiate the board vision. Now, there was a lot of comments about this as well. It says the problem with doing this type of save with a team that doesn't focus on youth is that the board are more likely to say no to developing the youth and focusing on the youth. And what I should try to do is change that club vision to try and make it youth orientated. Now, that is exactly what I've managed to do. So a great tip once again from the comment section. I have managed to get them to put into our club vision the objective to develop the best youth system in the country. This in practicality hasn't actually changed too much, but I am hoping that eventually it means that they will do everything in their power to build up our youth facilities and our youth recruitment and keep them at the very, very top layer. They've also included in the board culture an objective to develop players using the club's youth system. This fits really nicely. It's what I'm being judged on. It actually now becomes a real serious youth intake only type of save where we can, even in line with what the owners think, only focus on what the board actually want here. Previously, there was things like spend the original transfer budget. And of course, I never did spend the original transfer budget because I've not spent any of it at any point. So I feel like this is a really big development. However, it is also paired with our worst start to a season since being back in Serie A. We're in the relegation zone after 19 games. The trust that I've put in the youth for this year at this point is backfiring. We've only won 5 games out of 19. We haven't drawn a game. We've lost 14 games already so far this year. Some big ones as well. We lost 5-2 to Bologna, 3-1 to Lecce, 4-0 to Juventus. We're struggling. And that is because I have persevered with the young players. Donjia as our right back, for example. Rollo in defence, 16 games for him. He's actually wanted by Man City. That is a big old clue that he must have good potential, even if he can't jump. Even if he's only got 9 jumping reach. Playing him in games has seen a really big jump in his quality. That's really good to see. It just means that he's slightly lower quality to begin with and we're losing games. possibly as a result of that as well. I've stuck to Campani as the striker. This was a big year in his development in my mind. He's got 9 goals in 18. He's also coming along leaps and bounds. His value is up to 15 to 18.5 million pounds. 9 goals in 18 games. He started every game as well. The average rating isn't great. We don't score loads of goals, but he's going to be a fantastic player. I've got his contract until 2031. I do need to go and give him a new one as well. One thing that I'm noticing is that they always want a minimum fee release clause in their new contracts. In fact, can I show you here what I've been trying to do with a few other players too? If I discuss his contract with an agent, you will notice that he wants a minimum fee release clause of 23 million pounds. He hasn't actually locked that in as a locked demand on here, which means that I will be able to remove it when we actually come to discuss in the contract. Often they will lock this in here and you're kind of stuck. I really don't want to put one in because as we get better, that value isn't going to be high enough because they also lock the value that you can put it to. Just a little tip. I have been able to do this a few times where I've said, I'm happy with these demands in principle, but I would respectfully ask that if we don't go down the route of saying anything is non-negotiable, they then say yes to this, removes the locked demand, and then you can remove them and give them a slightly higher wage. We can pay more on wages in this save because we have money to spend, and that removes the chance that these players are just going to get picked off by other teams. Now, I'll probably go and do that in a second, but just as a little tip there along the way, you guys are teaching me loads about this save. That's a tip from me with contracts. Try and avoid as much as possible those minimum fee release clauses because I can just see them being disastrous in the future. So speak to the agent about it and they will remove it. Zilly is one that I still haven't managed to lock down on this new contract, and he's one that I do need to go and do. He's now wanted as well by Manchester United and Lecce on a loan. I'm obviously not going to loan him, but again, United want him. That means he's probably quite good, isn't he? Here's the stats of the other players just so you can see, and that's how the team have been doing so far. Oh, and also, even though I've got them to agree to be focused on youth in so many ways, we've got the perfect training facilities and perfect youth recruitment. You'd think the logical next step would be to improve these youth facilities, wouldn't it? They won't even let me talk about it. I can't ask for it, look. There's no facilities on here, even though we've got a whole star to try and improve on there. I don't know if that's a reputation thing. Maybe when we become 4-star rep, they'll say yes to that. So maybe we need to improve on the pitch before they'll do that. But to improve on the pitch, we need our youth facilities to be better. It's a bit of a catch-22, and that's what makes this challenging. This is what makes it enjoyable at the end of the day, isn't it? What I need to go and do now is work out how to get this team winning again. Is it to take out some of these young players and go with the tried and tested experienced players? Is it a change in tactic? Is it a fantastic new player coming through our youth intake? Let's check because we do have our new youth intake preview. It's not as good as last year, at least according to the preview. We've got a golden generation, of course. That's almost a given at this stage, isn't it? Only 2 positions that are A graded. One of our defensive midfielders has the potential to go far, and we have a forward who could be considered a fine prospect. Now, that's disappointing, not just because there are less of these, but because I feel like we're pretty sorted for strikers. We've got Campani, we've got Spinelli. We don't really need a striker. We're also pretty well sorted for a DM as well with Torti. I'd love this centre-back to be good. Even though it says we don't have particularly good centre-backs coming through. That's kind of important. Maybe full-backs as well. A right-back still, although Donjia looks like he is making progress. That's a bit worrying, especially if I don't turn around the form of the team. We've also got a bid, by the way, for Werner. Werner's 35. I might say yes to this, even though... Yeah, I think I'm going to say yes to this. I think we're just going to sell him because I think let's get him off the wage bill. At this stage, I'm pretty much fully committed to the new gen players, the youngsters. Actually, not even just new gens because we do have Matasera as well. But I'm pretty committed to just using these guys. I'm going to have to go and properly football manager this now. I'm going to have to go and make sure that I win some games and try and steer us away from relegation. We're 4 points off safety and we're about halfway through the season. It's worrying. I'll see you in April for the youth intake, and I'm really hoping I can come back with some good news regarding the results. I'm a bit scared. I'll see you then. All right, panic over. Don't worry about it. We're now 12th in the league. We've had a really good run, actually. What I did to change it is I went to the experienced players again. Players like Van der Putter started playing every game, and Raffaele came back in, and we managed to turn it around. It was that first game, actually. First game in January, we played Cagliari, and we beat them 3-0. D'Angelo in midfield scored twice. And this one, gave us the confidence. Sometimes that's all it takes as well, getting one really good win, even though we had a couple recently, and you can turn it around. We started drawing games instead of losing them as well. We lost to Inter, that was expected, but we went on a run then of being unbeaten in like 10 games. Like some good draws in there as well, some good wins in there also. 4-0 against Napoli is up there with our best results ever, I think. We have just lost the game to Juve 4-1, but at this stage with 2 red cards in it, we've got a load of suspensions and injuries right at this second. But I'm almost feeling like it doesn't matter so much now. There's only 7 games to go to the end of the season, and we're very much safe. 37 points compared to the 24 points, which is the third lowest team. Sassuolo look in the top relegation spot, if that makes sense. The other teams around us as well have been hopeless, which has helped a lot. Monza, let's just look at their fixtures. They've not won a game in 2029 yet. They've actually drawn the last 5 games, which is a bit wild. The teams around us that we needed to drop off have dropped off. Sassuolo are in a horrible spell of form as well. Look, they just don't win games anymore. So all of those things combining mean that suddenly we're safe, and it didn't take all that much. It just basically happened with bringing Van der Putte back in the team. He's got 8 goals in 20. That alone has made all of the difference. Petriosoni in the midfield too, who is not great, but is experienced and has maybe quality on the ball and can actually tackle, which might be the thing, because we play him as a number 6 and he can actually tackle it. Can't run, but he can actually win the ball back, which Torti can't still. Torti is one of our players injured at the moment as well. He has broken his leg, which isn't going to help his tackling ability. It isn't going to help his development either, but he's going to be out for, how long has he got left now? He's got 5 to 7 months. He did it at, 17th of March, so not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago. Rullo is suspended. He was one of those that got sent off, him and Spinelli, 2 of our best youngsters. Campani's also injured. He's twisted his ankle, and then Raimondi is a backup right back who's got himself an injury, but that doesn't matter as much because he's not a starter. Donja is improving, and I'm hopeful that he can become our first choice right back and actually be pretty useful for us. The thing that we need to look at right now, though, is not the fact that we've managed to turn things around, which is great, but we do have our youth intake. If I go to our youth candidates screen, here are the players that we've managed to bring in. 2 players in the elite talent section, and interestingly, this intake has been downgraded from a golden generation. It was a golden generation, right? Even though there was only 2 A-graded positions in there. It's now only a good intake. A first look, this appears to be a good group of young players. Now, that might actually just be a sign of the times that we've become a decent football team with good players with good potential across the squads. It might be that these guys are just rubbish, and we won't know until there's a player called Robinho there. Didn't notice him. Robinho is a central midfielder. I hope he's going to be good. Umberto Del Bianco. How many years in do you start getting a son, by the way? I'd love a little Italian son. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's look at these elite talents because they are most likely to develop into the best. I think it's probably Barchiesi, who is a centre-back. That wasn't on there before, was it? It was a defensive midfielder and a striker. So maybe Umberto Del Bianco and Verdi were the 2 that were A grades. Paolo Barchiesi has made his way into the elite talents. Let's look at him first. He's 5'9". You're really testing me, Football Manager. I'm trying to be adaptable. I'm trying to be flexible. I'm trying to appreciate players that are a bit shorter. Those small kings, they can become good. You're pushing me to my limits, though. He's got good teamwork, can't tackle, he's tiny, he's got 3 strength. Yes, he's just a little boy right now, but 14 heading. It's Lisandro Martinez, everybody. Mark's opponents tightly. I don't know. I'm going to try and give him a chance, but he's got good mentals. He's got some okay technicals. He's also tiny and really, really weak and can't concentrate and hasn't got great anticipation. Maybe. Paolo Barchiesi, please be good Christian Verdu then. He's all right. Again, really rubbish physicals. Rubbish physicals at this age is okay. Spanish, interestingly. Where was he born? He was born in Becerril de Campos of Spain. And he's come through our intake, which is quite fun. We'll give him a chance as well. Any other ones in here that jump out? Francesco Galli, is he the son of our head of youth development? Have you snuck in your son here, Filippo? Because that feels a little bit sneaky. It's not listed in there, but I see what's happening here. Where were you born, actually? You were born in Cimeri Critchie. I don't know where that is, if that's near here or not. Francesco Galli, though, as another right back who looks all right. I was worried about right back. I feel like Donja has actually filled that void now a little bit, and I'm quite happy to go with him. Robinho is a left-footed centre mid. We've got Kasani, 6'8". Okay, he's in. He's in the team. I'm not sure he's going to be very good. He's very slow. He's a giant though. He's 6'8" at 16. Does that mean there is a good chance that he goes to 6'9"? And that would be outrageous. Right, Alessio Kasani, let's move you to the senior squad. I probably need to actually offer him a contract as well. I will do that afterwards. But I'm in. Count me in on him. Alessandro Lucci is a model citizen young striker. So he has picked up the exact personality of our head of youth development. That might be a coincidence, but he does have the same personality. Lovely head of hair as well, which is always nice to see. Umberto Dal Bianco might be one that he might be a bit unlucky not to be in the elite talents section of this, but maybe his potential just isn't that high. He is a 6-foot striker with okay finishing, pretty good physicals. He's got okay attributes in the right place. 5 anticipation is the one thing for a poacher. We play with an advanced forward. He can't dribble, and his first touch isn't great, and he can't pass, and he doesn't work very hard. But he does shoot from distance. What are his long shots? He's got 4 long shots with the trait shoots from distance. Those don't quite add up, I don't feel, but we'll keep an eye on him. Maybe he will come good eventually. Then I suppose I'll just show you Nicolini, who looks okay as well. Left midfielder can play as a left winger as well, which is good. Maybe to him. And then finally, Emanuele Riccobene. Very, very Italian name. I love that. He is a left winger who is left-footed as well. Quite similar, actually, to the last guy, I reckon. We also have a Malian who came through and some other less promising Italian players in there too. Right now, though, the same approach will be applied to those guys where we will see how they turn out and we'll do our best to bring them in. I'll offer them all a contract and we'll go from there. Just an update on the facilities. Youth facilities are still at 4 stars. Can I ask for more of them? No, I cannot. I can ask for an affiliate club, which I will do, but they keep saying no to that one as well. So at the moment, we still don't have another affiliate club. It is something I'm working on, though. The good news, though, is that we are pretty much safe, which means we can go to the end of this season without really worrying about too much. And then we go again for season 7. Here we are at the end of the season. Guess where we finished? Yes, we finished 13th again. We finished 13th or 14th every season. And that's happened again. I'll show you the table here. It doesn't matter how badly we do at the start of the season, where we're 18th in January. It doesn't matter how good we're doing, where we're 9th in January. We will always end up about here. That is the history of the Catanzaro. Look, since becoming a Serie A team, we finished 15th, 13th, 14th, 14th, and now 13th. Is there progress? I think there is with the players that we've got. We're just not seeing it on the pitch yet. It's slow progress at best. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot in these videos, but also that is the nature of this, isn't it? Any improvements you make are incremental and they might not even be immediately obvious. The things that I've picked out, I've put in here the team that is my first choice 11 right now. Not necessarily the best and not necessarily the one that I have to resort to if I really need to get this team a win. Players like Van der Putter have to come in for games like that. He's played 24 games this season. Scognamillo as well, 34 games for him this season, because they are the old experienced players that just need to play if I need to win a game. However, this is what we're building the future on. And I just wanted to show you that at the end of this season as we finished 13th here. These were the end results. We were great. We got ourselves safe. Then I brought in the young players again and we were rubbish. But I'm hoping that the experience of playing will improve them enough so that next season that doesn't happen. I'm sort of gambling on it a little bit. Gambling in a sense that we were safe. We finished 13th, 41 points. It was only 5 points clear of relegation, but for a long time, it looked like we were going to be fine. Sassuolo's form look in that 18th place. They won a few games at the end, but this is when I changed the team and then they started winning games and it made it a bit closer than it really should have been because before that, they were dreadful look. So I've tried to give them a bit of game time and this is where we're at. Gargano as the keeper, Dongia as the right back. He's done great, played 31 games. I actually need to make sure I show you the profile screens of the players, I think, as often as possible, not just saying he's really becoming good because I want to show you how they're actually growing. He's now first choice right back. Rullo started 33 games this year. I think it was started 33. Started 32, played 33 first team games. He has made his big breakthrough. That's more than the 30 last year where he only started 16, look. So he's starting more games. And definitely improving. Jumping reach is still 9. That is the thing that we're tracking, isn't it? But alongside him, Welshman, Thomas Evans. He's playing games. I've started him for the end of the season pretty much. He started 11 games as a centre-back. I'll show you on his form here, look. as a centre-back, he just went on a real run where I played him in every game. And I think it's really helping. He's got lovely up arrows. I'll show you his development and progress here for attributes. I mean, even in the last month, I wonder if there's some up arrows. He's growing. Look, I know you can't see this under me, but he's got an extra 2 acceleration, an extra 3 pace, an extra 4 strength, which has only taken him up to 10. But from 6 strength up to 10 is a huge difference, isn't it? For somebody who's going to have to play at centre-back. His jump and reach has gone up 1 as well to 13 under there. So vision's up by 3 to 8, which can't that keep going? And if that gets to 10, he becomes a much better ball-playing centre-back. Which is what we really want them to be eventually. But those two together could be the future of our defence. I see it now. I see the vision for it. Matacera, Torti, D'Angelo, Zilli. I'll show you Torti, but actually he hasn't played any more games because his leg is still very much broken for another 3 to 5 months. He hasn't played any more games. D'Angelo, it's his final season with the club. We wave goodbye to a player that has become quite good. It might be a regret to sell him. It might be a mistake to have sold him. I did debate whether I should ask to loan him again. No. He rejected us. I'm not going to fight for him. He wants to go to Chelsea. Go to Chelsea, and I bet they don't play him. Like, that just seems to be the way, isn't it? These big teams will buy your new gen players and then just not play them at all, which is a huge waste. But he's going to go. I'm having to try and think about who replaces him in the team. It's either Marchese, who is not amazing and has the worst photo in the history of Football Manager photos, or it's the slightly older Petrosioni, who I think is on his last legs. So maybe you play Torsi further forward and then Petrosioni, who really can't run anymore. But when he does play, does seem to make us better as a squad. And then in front of those, Spinelli played 35, scored 8. Pasqualini scored 4 in his 23 games. He was taken out for a lot of the season for Van der Putter, but Van der Putter is a real player and is old now. And then up front, Campani, big breakthrough season, 25 games, 22 starts, 11 goals, 3 assists. Big movement from him. He's established himself as that first choice striker. Whether it becomes a 2 at some point, I don't know. But right now, Campani has the shirt and Spinelli is playing wide. Spinelli, who's unhappy at the moment because he wants a new deal, is something I will be sorting out. Also, just to show you on the contracts, if I show you here who's expiring and who's not. Franch and Manna both expire in the summer, as well as D'Angelo leaving. Matacera needs a new one, but I can give him a new one. I think I can even trigger him a new one here, so I will do that. That's fine. And then everybody else at least has a year left on their contract. A lot of them, like Evans, will have already, in fact, I've already offered him a new contract. Look, I'll be trying to tie up. Zilli is another one that I will try to lock down for as long as possible. Torti's here till 2033. It is something I'm consciously trying to keep on top of because I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose them because it gets too close to the end of their contracts and then they decide that they're going to start considering their options or they're unhappy, so it's impossible to offer them a new contract. Anytime I'm offering them a contract as well, I'm doing that thing where I can trigger the automatic optional 3-year extensions. So doing my best with that. I think we're in a good place. It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy up and down season, but going into season number 7, I've kind of done the squad update. We can get straight into it and go and play some games. I may even, now nothing else is going to change from here, I may even go all the way up until the January of that season and show you how I've started our 7th season in charge. That feels like a good idea. Let's go do that. Okay, so I've gone all the way through, actually, to December the 31st of 2029. It's the halfway point there or thereabouts of season number 7. I've skipped that first little introduction part to the season because there aren't any transfer updates to tell you, and we'd kind of gone through the squad already. This is the situation. You could probably guess where we are in the league because we're 14th. It's always 13th or 14th, although actually sometimes we have been much higher or much lower at this stage. There is no threat this year, it seems, of relegation, though. So maybe chance to bring through a few more young players. Or should I be trying to aim higher to try and finish higher? But even then, look, to try and finish in the top 6, we are 8 points off that. I don't know. The reason that I can maybe experiment a little bit more is that Sampdoria, Como and Venezia are dreadful this year. There is only 4 wins between the 3 of them combined. So there's no threat of being relegated. If I want to play our young players, I can. And I sort of have been. This has been the general lineup for this year. One big miss is that Campani has been injured. He bruised his ankle and he was out with a calf strain before that, as you can see. So he's missed quite a lot of football and only started 5 games. Because he's been kind of unfit even when he did come back. So we had a big step forward for him last season with his 25 games and 11 goals. Been a bit of a step backwards this year, just Just 3 starts in the league so far. But hopefully in the second half of the season, we can see him kick on again once he's over this little injury that he's kind of got here. The other big change is that I've played Rollo as a defensive midfielder. If you remember all the way back, I was training him as an anchor because I was worried about his height. I've then played him as a centre-back a lot since then. But this year he's gone back to being our defensive midfielder. And that's because of the exit of D'Angelo over here, look. So we were lacking in that last midfielder. I was talking about maybe going with Petricioni, who has played 13 games. He has played lots of games in there. And then sometimes Rollo plays in defence. But every now and then I'm doing this and then still playing Scognamillo in defence. Thomas Evans continues to play. The rest of the team is pretty much decided. We've got Gianluca Zilli is once again a little bit unhappy because he wants to leave to move to a bigger club. I didn't manage to get that contract through to him. He rejected the one that I offered him and then he wouldn't talk to me again. A little bit scary at the moment because he's only got, I mean, it's 3 years, so it should be fine. Well, it's 2.5 years at this stage. But I'm a bit worried that if he gets too close, we'll get that notification that says he's going to consider his options. I can't extend his contract from here, but usually he gets like this at the first half of the season. Then by the end of the season, he's happy. I just need to make sure I give him that new contract. The contract situation, if I show you on here, is that Marchesi goes out of contract in the summer. Manor I've just kept on this non-contract at the moment. And then there's a few, look, from Scognamillo all the way down to Salemi, all going out of contract as it stands next year. So not this summer coming, but the year after. So players like Ferruccio Rullo, I'm going to do this, trigger this I'll do it right now. I'll trigger this contract extension. That's why I'm not worried. Campani is not the same, but he needs a new one. But a little contract update for you then. Other things to update you on. Our youth facilities are still 4 stars because I've not been able to extend that at all. Everything else is good. Our reputation, annoyingly, hasn't ticked over to that 4-star reputation yet. And yet, even though there are a few teams that are sort of our level who are actually 4-star reputation, Torino being the team that's maybe they're just slightly ahead of us, but they've got 4-star rep. I'd like to get there, but it probably means, because it's continental reputation, it probably means we need to qualify for Europe to actually be able to achieve that. So that is kind of the next step. It's a kind of much of the same update, I'm afraid. We do have a youth intake to have a look at, so that will be fun. But the season's been kind of the same, except for we did lose 8-1 to Juventus. That was a low point, and our goal came right at the end as well. But Juventus are the reigning champions, which is what I'm telling myself for losing 8-1 there. We've been on a good run recently, turned it around. We are like this. We'll either lose loads of games or we'll win loads in a row. Once we get that one win, we can back it up. We beat Como, so they are one of the worst teams in the league. Beat Torino, beat Venezia, they're another one of the worst team in the league. So maybe it's just the fact that the fixture list is quite kind to us at this stage. We won 6-2 there, went through in the cup, we beat Fiorentina 3-2, and we've just drawn to Bologna 2-2. Campani back in the team though, scoring twice before he got that little, I think it was a bruise that he's picked up since this game. So he should be fine with that. Overall, like I said, it's kind of a nothing update on the pitch. I'm just hoping that it's just more small steps to this team growing a bit older. Players like Zilli now are 20 years old. And once they get into their 20s, 21, 22, 23, you'd maybe see them turn into really established Serie A footballers who have played a lot of games. Zilli is up to 131 games played for the first team. And he's really good. And the likes of him and Spinelli, who's on 98 games now, and Campani as our striker, when they are fully established, that then is probably when we make the next step. At the moment, they're still really young players. Rullo is 19 years old. He's played 94 games for us now. Thomas Evans is only 19 years old as well. He's starting to establish himself as a starter. I can see how this team progresses into a really good team, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take a while, and it might take a few more seasons of finishing 13th or 14th before we get there. Who knows, though? Right now, the form is so good that maybe we can push on. That is the ideal. Let's have a look at that youth intake, though, and see what we've got coming through. By the way, none of the players that came through in the last couple of seasons have really made their way into the first team. I've been looking at them, checking them, keeping an eye on all of those players, promoting them if they look any good. None of them have really made that step to dislodge any of the players that we've got in. But in the meantime, I'm kind of sticking with the players that we have because they've put the work in, they've got the game time, and they've made those development steps. So obviously, we'll keep looking at it, but just trust in me a little bit that is what I've kind of been doing. You'll notice, I think, if a player comes through and is really good, you'll see because they would have played more games and they'll be in this first team squads around here. Right now, though, we do have a golden generation again. It looks better than last year. 3 A grades, 2 B grades, and 1 C grade. Goalkeeper is one of them. Great prospect, a defensive midfielder. We've had loads of keepers, defensive midfielders, and strikers. One of the centre-backs is only a B and looks promising. That's annoying. I suppose we do actually need a defensive midfielder. Palalai, because Torti's not really that guy, we need a really defensively sound defensive midfielder. So this actually could be interesting. Centre backs, one looks promising. An attacking midfielder to keep an eye on. We don't even play with an attacking midfielder. And then a healthy number of new fullbacks in the pipeline might be okay. It's golden generation right now, excellent intake. Let's see if that stays the same, because I think last time it went down from excellent to average, I believe it was, or good or decent, whatever it was, but it went down a little bit, didn't it, last time? I think that's the full update. We still don't have an affiliate club. We still haven't been able to improve our youth facilities, even though the board wanted us to, and that actually is an update I need to give you. They've removed it. In the new season's board objectives, they just got rid of it again. So I think the only time I can get it in there is when I request it during a contract renewal. It's now not there in our 5-year plan to develop the best youth system in the country. It is still in our board culture here, though, to develop players using our youth system, which is good. I'd love it if you come back in. Maybe next contract I can try and put it back in there, and hopefully it stays more long term. You may have noticed on here, and it was actually on here a while ago, something I've not told you about yet. There is a new stadium in the works. It is the 23,750 capacity Catanzaro Stadium. We move in on the 30th of June 2031. We're about a year and a half away from moving into our new stadium, and the board have very imaginatively called it the Catanzaro Stadium. Maybe we'll rename it eventually further down the line if a true hero emerges from this save. The Zilly Stadium or something like that. Maybe when he retires. But for now, we'll keep it as the Catanzaro for this stage now. But news on the stadium is that we do now have an actual date on when we're going to move in, which is really good news. That'll be fun. And 23,000 seats, it's not massive, but it is a vast improvement on this apartment block that is the Nicola Ceravola 14,000 seater. The final thing that I know I didn't update you on before is we have actually lost one really promising young player because I couldn't get him to sign a new contract and he wanted to leave. I have sold Andrea De Vita. His contract was expiring. It's really bad news. I'm actually a bit gutted. It's the first time that this has happened to us. It was bound to happen at some point, but Andrea De Vita wouldn't sign a new contract, and then AC Milan were interested and he was considering his options and he was going to leave at the end of it and he would not sign a new contract. So I decided to sell him in the summer. We've sold him for £1.1 million. We do have some future installments on him they're going to pay us a little bit more, and also 15% of the profit will go to us as well, which isn't huge, but at least it's something. Oh, by the way, on D'Angelo, I managed to put in 50% of the next transfer fee will be paid to us. So I can actually sell that for now for £11 million. I am wondering, I'm kind of hoping, his value's 20 to 29 million. So there's we sold him for 10 million. We could get a whole 20 million for him. I'm kind of waiting to bank that at the moment. We don't need the money, but it goes to show it is a good bit of business overall, I think. He hasn't played a single game for Chelsea yet, so maybe I should cash this in sooner rather than later. It was as I expected, but in this first half of the season being there, he hasn't played a game for them yet. So another extra £11 million on top of the 10.75 that I received for him. Not too bad, that business, isn't it? Maybe De Vita as well. If he starts to play for AC Milan, he's played twice for the B team. Maybe his value goes up and we can make some money there. We will see. That is the final update, though. I'm going to go and get ourselves through to our actual youth intake at the end of March, start of April for this year. And hopefully we won't be in 13th or 14th. And hopefully we'll be above that rather than below. But we'll probably be there, won't we? Let's be honest. And guess what? Yeah, we're 14th. It will come to nobody's surprise that after 30 games, we're 14th in the league. I'd like to finish 13. That is our ceiling at the moment. There is in touching distance 12th with Lecce, Salento in there. Maybe we can go and grab 11th, but it probably isn't going to happen. This is the team that has been playing recently. You'll notice that Petriussione is back in there. That is because Scognamillo is injured at the moment. He's damaged his cruciate ligaments, is out for 5 to 8 months. So it might well be the end of him. His contract expires next year, but he's going to be out for 5 to 8 months, which means Rollo's gone back as a centre-back and Petriussione has come in, which is why I'm really hoping that promising defensive midfielder in the intake is actually going to be good, because if they are, they might actually be a starter, like genuinely ahead of Petriussione, who can't run. Like, he's got good attributes everywhere else, but if our intake player can run, he might actually be better for us. So we're going to go find out what that is. Let's have a look at that youth intake, in fact, by going to here, where we have got maybe, I mean, at least on paper, one of the most promising intakes we've had for a long time, actually. It stays as a 5-star golden generation intake. We have got 6 players in the elite talent section. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the top talent section, including an Englishman called Christopher Mwanza, and then also 3 good players. It's not even like the worst ones on here are absolutely terrible. We've got some that might genuinely be quite good here. Now, I will go through a lot of them because that's kind of what we're in it for. We want to find out which good players we get in, but there might even be some that I will go and analyze myself and work out whether they can actually play a part for us. Begovic, the goalkeeper, first of all, a Croatian keeper, 6'2". I kind of want to like be able to compare to how Gonella looked at the start. How does he compare to Gonella now? Has Gonella made big strides on him without really playing? Gonella's 20 years old now and he's barely played. I really feel like maybe Gargano is just going to be our keeper throughout unless Begovic looks really good. He looks okay. He's got good height. They're not great goalkeeping attributes, but a few of these 9s, if they became 10s, maybe it would look a lot better. The fact they're 9s kind of puts you off a little bit, doesn't it? Low reflex. It's like the ones that are good are like rushing out tendency, which isn't a great thing, is it? Low eccentricity, I suppose. Promising goalkeeper. We will see. We've got Paolo Moschetti, who is the striker that came through. Very naturally fit. Has good finishing. Very nice mentals, actually, in a lot of good places. Good bravery, but then the ones that you actually want for a striker, composure, decisions, aren't as good. Very aggressive. Is how I feel, but we will see. Not writing him off. I will keep saying that. Here's the defensive midfielder. This is the one that I need to be good. Is he big and strong, and can he tackle? He can't tackle, and he's 5'7". He's got really good teamwork, though. Balanced personality. Very poor physicals at this stage. The mentals might make him usable in the future. Really good technique as well. He's more of like a passing midfielder, I think. Well, he's actually got really good passing, not great vision, but he's not the... I wanted like a destroyer, I think. Just a defensive midfielder. If I actually show you his attributes for defensive midfield, they're not too bad. If that tackling... We've seen how much players can grow. If that tackling improves, they're not so bad. They're around the 10s, and then these ones down here are really good. Maybe Alberto Di Bianchi. We've got Tadej, a centre-back, who... isn't bad. Really good tackling on him. Okay mentals, some okay physicals too. Daniele Bazzano, number 10. Lovely flair player. Good natural fitness, agility, okay passing, decent vision. Yeah. Paolo Veriola is another central midfielder. He looks okay. I'm looking where the attributes are for a deep line playmaker. Maybe like an advanced playmaker, which is what we use. Great first touch passing technique. Okay vision. Not terrible for a 15-year-old. Not terrible. And then that's the end of our elite talents. Then we've also got in here, there's a bit of a drop off in terms of the potential on stars of these guys, but Roberto Cassani for a left back. We do really probably need a backup left back to Matacera, I'd say. He is an unambitious left back. Looks maybe is the answer to him. And that is kind of the case every year. I want to make sure I show you them, but it's also really impossible to really pass judgment on whether they're going to be any good without knowing what their potential ability is. We'll have to just see. Right now, I could do with Alberto Di Bianchi being good, is the one I would probably say. But I'm certainly not 100% sure of whether he can become the player that we hope so. But I wasn't particularly moved by Paolo Torti when we brought him through. And now look at him at 21. He's not a world beater, but he's solid enough, isn't he? And he's going to play. He's played 100 games. He's just played his 100th game for us as well. So back from his broken leg as well, which is good to see. Hopefully he can kick on again now that he's back in the team. He's played 28 games. You can see the appearances of the players here. Campani 5-18, but I'm hoping for a better end of the season from here. He played a lot recently. We've actually lost the last 4 games. We need a bit of a resurgence again, just to try and make sure that we improve on our position if we can. We're not going to get relegated. We are 24 points clear of that. But I'd like to finish above 13th if possible. So I suppose I should probably go and play. Those games. I'll see you at the end of the season. Right, so the season's finished. We finished 13th. At this stage, I don't really think I need to say anything else. We finished 13th. Again, this is ridiculous. I love the challenge. I do. I honestly do. But it almost feels like it's cursed that we actually can't make any more progress past this point. Look at our line on here. It's 15th. 13th, 14th, 14th, 13th, and then 13th again. Our hot prospect is updated to be Bianchi. The sole aim of next season is to try and finish above 13th. The squad hasn't changed too much. Campani came back in and played a lot of games and scored a few goals, which is really good news. Thoughty's back from his broken leg. You see that I used Teresi, who has come through and been actually useful at centre-back for us. So that's a big update as well. Either-footed young centre-back. So he's been good. Means I can play Rollo in midfield if I need to. Teresi's come through and made a few starts, actually. He's a big update. 20 years old now and actually looks like a solid enough centre-back. It allows me to use Rollo as the defensive midfielder. But I kind of don't want to dwell too much on this squad because you know these players now. They're not changing all that much. There's a couple that I've brought into the first team squad, like Petraka and Greco, who are young and have a bit of potential. And I'm trying to give a little bit of game time to. And Policia, who is another one who is a young centre-back too. But all in all, you can see by the names on here, this is the same group of players. And we're going to go into next season with the same group of players. And the sole aim is to finish above 13. So I'm going to go and play those games. And I'll be back in January of season number 8. And I just hope that things have clicked. And these young players that are getting better, Spinelli, definitely getting better. I hope they can just start dragging us up the league a little bit. I don't want to say I'm getting frustrated because I don't think I am. But I would like to see a little bit of progression, I think, at this stage. I'll see you in about 6 months' time in game. Okay, I'm feeling good. I'm going to say it. But I think there has been some progress. It's steady, I will say also. We are 10th in Serie A after the first 18 games of the season. Halfway through our 8th season at the club. And we are in a position where we're looking up rather than looking down. Probably for the first real time. We are, again, well clear of relegation. But at this stage, we're sort of well clear of 14th, which is quite nice, actually. 5 points clear of the 14th team shows that maybe we can start looking upwards. And the reason I really feel like this is because of actually the players' performances and our good players starting to turn up and become good, not just for us, but for the league as a whole, actually. And those are players like Zilli, who is still wanted by Saudi teams at the moment, who has also signed a new contract, which I'm happy to tell you. Also, that contract does have an optional 3 years and doesn't have a minimum fee release. It's taken a long time, but I have managed to get that done. Similar story for Matasera, who's also got another 5 years on his contract. I had to, because I didn't manage to do the thing with the agent about taking out the non-negotiables. I had to put a release clause in his contract. However, I've just been able to offer him a new contract that maybe I can show you actually on here that doesn't have a release clause in there. And as you can see, does have the optional extension. If I offer that, he's going to accept that contract, hopefully. It's big money, but we've got the money to spend on these wages. Something I haven't shown you in a while, actually, is the finances. We've kind of stayed steady, really, at £37 million. We don't really make much money, but we don't really lose much money either. The balance stays around £37 million. I have been putting my transfer budget into my wage budget. And then somebody left a comment on the last video that said, don't do this because it might stop you from being able to ask for upgrades to the youth facilities. So I've just stopped. We've got a massive wage budget left over and I'm just leaving the money there, maybe hoping that, I think the theory behind that is that if we've got if we need a new transfer budget, they'll give us loads of money for transfer budget and then they will use up the money that they could have previously put towards facilities. Whereas if I leave the transfer budget there, they will just keep that the same and then that money that would have been put into that can be used on the facilities, I think is the theory anyway. Facilities, as you see, they haven't gone down at all, which is what I was worried about. They've just stayed the same. Now, I haven't been able to extend them. It just doesn't pop up on here. It's not an option for me to even ask for an improvement to the youth facilities. And again, still with affiliates, still don't have any. Although I am kind of getting itchy feet now and I might start spamming it a little bit more. They just say no. And even when you insist, they're saying no. I don't know if it's a bug or something, but they're not allowing me to get that affiliate club, which I really kind of want at this stage. I want to be able to find a club abroad that has high youth recruitment or facilities that will allow their young players to come through our intake. Like imagine we could find a Croatian team that gets really good youth players and then suddenly a few of those pop into our intakes. I think it could make a huge difference because I'm actually a little bit concerned that even though they looked quite good on the intakes, none of the players from the previous few seasons have really looked all that good at all. This is our under 18s currently. If I sort them by potential, Carmine Tadai and Alberto Di Bianchi, you may remember him as the defensive midfielder. I'm just not convinced that they're going to become real starters. And he hasn't really made that much progress. Maybe I should try and force him into the team a little bit more. But I'm kind of thinking that if he's playing football for the under 18s, that's not the worst thing anyway right now. Tadai is the other one who he's not better than the players we've got, and I'm not convinced he's going to become better than the players we've got. Like, I think I'd rather invest in Teresi, who could actually play a lot of games for us. And even then, he's not always a starter because Rollo starts sometimes and we play somebody else in the midfield. The only problem right now is that Rollo has to play in midfield and Teresi has to start because of that injury that we had to Skogna Milo, who actually did retire at the end of last season because of that injury that he picked up. So he's gone. Franch Curcio as well as Greco and Policia, who were young players, but they've also gone. Don't think they had that much potential. If I go to transfers, we also let these couple of youngsters go to Ferrani and Maiola, who were both fine, but probably weren't going to make it. I'm kind of all in on these guys now, and I'm really looking for a defensive midfielder. Or maybe if we've got a really good number 10, we change it and play with the number 10 instead. Those positions are kind of what I'm looking for because everybody else, I think we can win a lot of games with. Campani's got 9 goals in 10 starts this season. So he's a solid striker, again, making a lot of progress. Those are the positions that I'm really perhaps looking towards the most. I'm happy with Evans, who's developed into a really good centre-back for us. Didn't see a Welshman getting into our team at the start of this save. Rollo as well, like I say, can sometimes play as the defensive midfielder. Teresi coming in there. But Rollo is really quite good. He's got a massive value as well and 5 years left on his contract. Another one that I've given this optional 3 years. So hopefully we've got him locked down for 8 years at this stage, which is cool. Let's take a peek though at our intake for this season. And here it is. It's rubbish. It's the first time, genuinely, in this entire save. Is it the first time we've not had a golden generation as our youth intake preview? I think it is, except for the first season when we randomly just got a goalkeeper. Every other preview, at least, has been a golden generation, even if a couple of them, or at least one of them, became not a golden generation when it actually came through. This year, we've got an average intake where the best players are C-rated. Defensive midfielders that say there aren't any defensive midfielders that look like they'll trouble the first team, and this isn't a great year for central midfield. Everybody else is rubbish as well. We haven't got any wing backs, or it just says there are a lot of wingers in the system, but they are F grade and clearly not very good. I'm choosing to read this as half glass full in that maybe it's just because the quality of our squad is better now. The players that we've brought through and developed, like Rollo, are now strong enough that any youth intake player doesn't compare to them as well. Players like Zilli are really good for the league, let alone for our team. Players like Campani and Spinelli especially, look, really is kicking on. He's actually listed as a Wonderkid as well. Don't think Campani is. He's still an enthusiastic striker. I wonder if he does become one though. Or is he a little bit old now that he's 19? Maybe. Zilli now at 21 is listed just as a midfielder, but I think he was a Wonderkid before that. Quite exciting though for Spinelli. I don't know what the exact bracket for potential ability is to become a Wonderkid. Maybe you guys in the comments could let me know, but it must be a good thing, right? He's got 16 finishing now. Maybe I know I keep coming back to this, but maybe we are wasting him on the right hand side. He's doing all right though. What are his average ratings? 6.85. Maybe we could get more out of him using the pair of them, like a little and large strike force. What is he, 5'9"? And then the 6'5" striker. Maybe we could do that. I keep debating it, not doing it. Maybe now is the time to actually go and do it. I'm going to go and play until our actual intake then. I'm debating it. Maybe I'll play him as a striker. Let's go see. All right. Okay. Welcome to April of 2031. It is the April of our 8th season in charge here at Catanzaro. I am truly loving this save. I just want to put that on record, even if sometimes I come across as a little bit frustrated. It's so good that I'm frustrated because it means that there's a challenge there. And it's a challenge that I feel like I can't actually influence that much. We can play really well, but if the quality of the player just isn't there, we just have to wait until we get better players in and develop those players. And everything seems quite long-term in this save. And honestly, I love it. Look at Juventus, by the way. I've just noticed how much they are dominating this season. Top goal scorer, top 3 average ratings. Wow. We're maintaining our position in 10th. We have got 41 points. We are safe. We've still got a negative goal difference. We are probably not going to finish much higher because we're 5 points off 9th and 8 points off 8th. But a 10th place finish would be actual tangible progress and improvement on the past 6 seasons that we've been in this league, right? So long may that continue. Our results have been good. There's been losses in there, of course, but there's been good good. We got to the quarterfinal of the Italian Cup in there. Look, we had a game where we beat Lecce 4-1 and Paolo Spinelli scored 4 goals in it, which is beautiful. We had a game, the last win that we had, Campani scored twice. He scored twice in the game before that too. Our young players are doing bits in this league. We did lose our last game, but it was against Juventus, and I've just shown you how good they are. Campani now has got himself, he's got 34 goals in 96 games. That's not bad. He's 19 now. He's got himself 13 in 29. 17 goals in 23 in all competition. 23 starts, that is. 29. It's 19 starts in the league with 13 goals. He's really established himself as our main man up front. Just want to show you him actually really quickly. Progress-wise, attributes are on, they're flying. They are flying up. I know that you can't see some of these behind me here, but even at the top, his acceleration has gone up by 4. His agility has gone up by 4. Just to tell you the ones, pace up by 3, stamina up by 4. Look at the anticipation up by 4. The finishing even up by 2 to 13 now. His concentration in his entire history as a player has gone up by 5. His vision up by 4. His positioning up by 4 as well. His teamwork was already 17. His work rate was already really good. I think we've got a serious footballer on our hands here. And when you pair him with Spinelli, who's a really serious, look at his value, 30 to 35 million. And we've got the option to have him for another, 7 years from this point now as well, because of the contract. I'm maybe for the first time properly genuinely optimistic that we'll be able to finish this. Remember, my rule at the start was I want to win the league or the Champions League. If we can keep hold of Campani, Spinelli, Zilli, Rullo, Matacera, and maybe Gargano, and do you know what? Most of these first team players, except for maybe Teresi, Pasqualini. You know what? Torti could do a job, and maybe Torti. If we can upgrade on those, I think that 11 can win things. We might be lacking in depth, though, is the only other thing. I just get the impression that we're getting there. 17 goals from our star striker, 13 from our right winger. Pasqualini always chips in. We've got the star man in Zilli. Nobody's unhappy right now except for the players that probably leave in the summer. Petricioni, I think I have to cut my losses on. He is so slow. He is so slow these days. He's 36. His contract actually doesn't expire until next year, but I think I might need to step in and try and remove him because playing him might be to the detriment of the team. What I'm really hoping is, it'd be really cool. I tell you what we need. We need a defensive midfielder so that Teresi doesn't have to play and that we get this defense. Rullo and Evans. Donjia, I'm quite happy with. Becoming a really good footballer. 20 years old now. I'm happy with this attack. Like, obviously, we could probably improve on Pasqualini. We could probably improve on Torti. But even if we just got a really good defensive midfielder, I think this team goes to a new level. And I suppose we might even get one right now because we do have our youth intake to have a look at. Let me show you our new players. It's a poor intake. However, it's not as bad as the youth intake preview told us it was going to be. We do have an elite talent and he's a defensive midfielder. Ennio Bruno, please be good is all I can say. He's 1 star already, and that's a very firm 4-star potential for the first team. So that's good news. We've also got another midfielder in Andrea Longo. So 2 options here, 2 potential defensive midfielders because he is a ball-winning midfielder, which tells me his tackling is probably quite good as well. But let's check. Ennio Bruno, please be good because you might be the answer to all of our dreams right now. Oh, he's 6'3". Straight away, I'm like, okay, 6'3" with really good balance. Now you're talking to me. The strength and the pace and things, not amazing. Why can't he tackle? Why can't you tackle, Ennio? Imagine that was a 10. If that was 10, I would be over the moon with him. It's 5. We've seen how much they can improve. Like, go to Torti. Torti's the guy that's there. He's still on 9. I don't know what he started at. What did his tackling start at? Maybe if I really actively try to train him in tackling, we could see him become good at it. I just don't know. Also, by the way, I know a few of you have asked in the comments, am I doing training myself? And am I using those training methods that I have seen going about that are sort of almost exploity, that only train the physicals because those are the most important things, and you can kind of isolate which attributes improve and really sort of fast forward the way that players develop? I'm not doing any of that. The training I've left to my assistant because I kind of want it to be organic and I want it to be a struggle. And I feel like that sort of shortcuts it a little bit. So I know that a lot of you were asking that. I've the whole time I've just left it to my assistants. I never really do my own training, if I'm going to be completely honest, because I find it a slight waste of time and a lot of energy for something that has minimal effects. I know that if you do things a certain way, you can get massive effects from it, but then it becomes and feels a little bit insincere. So just for full disclosure for this save, I'm just not going to touch training, even if it might actually help us specifically in this example. If it could help us get really good tackling for Ennio Bruno, that'd be great. I think I'm going to bring him in. I think I'm going to try it because it looks like he's got good potential. He doesn't look terrible to me. He's got the height. It's only really that he can pass. He's got good vision. He's got good technique. He's got really good decisions. He's not very strong. He's a bit of a beanpole. He's not very fast and he can't tackle, but maybe we can improve that a little bit. I'll get these guys their contracts offered to them. We will also have a look at Andrea Longo. Can he tackle? He can tackle because he's naturally a ball-winning midfielder, look. So he can tackle and can do that. He doesn't look as good. He's very, very aggressive. Although he doesn't dive into tackles. So that kind of counteracts each other a little bit, doesn't it? We'll try him as well. We will, of course, sign both of them. I'm assuming that none of these other guys are any good, but I will probably still sign all of them anyway, just so that we can kind of check and train them up a little bit and see where they turn out. But for now, these are the two that we'll hang our hat on for this season. And we're going to go and try and see if we can finish in the top 10 for the first time. And that would represent progress for me. All right, so at the end of our 8th season, we finished 9th. We are officially a top half Serie A team, and it feels glorious to be able to actually say that. We have finished just below Genoa and above Lazio. Finishing above a team like Lazio and Bologna, it's actual progress. We're moving forwards. We are getting closer, even though it's very slowly getting closer to our ultimate aim of winning this league. We are not anywhere near the 94 points that Juventus have got. They've now won 3 leagues in a row. In fact, is that 4 leagues in a row? Because this is actually, no, that is 3 leagues in a row that's counted this one on here. Look, they are very dominant. Only lost twice all season. It wasn't to us. Did draw to us though. 1-1 in their away game to us. Campani is 3rd in the top goal scorers list. He's got himself, I think it's 20 in all comps this year. 16 goals in the league. Yeah, 20 and 29 starts in all competitions. 16 goals in 25 starts in the league. So he's jumping forward. Our enthusiastic 6'5" striker. The team looks like this. Ennio Bruno is the next project. He hasn't played, but I have put him into the first team here. Look, this is the contract that I've put him on. This is where we stand. I've given him a face as well. You know things are serious. You know that you've got a player that I'm going to intend to play if you get given a face in this save. And Ennio Bruno now has a face. So I'm going to definitely play him and make sure that he turns out pretty good. You see the stats of the other players on here. I don't want to dwell too much right now because I want to actually go and do my squad audit and maybe try and make some progress in other areas at the start of season number 9, because I'm hoping that with finishing 9th, that maybe we get a nice little boost in our reputation. It won't go to 4 stars on here because we're not going to go to Continental because we're not in Continental competitions. We're not that far away from them though, are we? We are 2 positions below the Conference League, and sometimes this can change and you get an extra one. We might even end up 1 position below the European spots. That could be really cool. A European adventure is probably going to happen in the next video because we can't be that far away unless we spend another 5 seasons finishing 9th, in which case there'll be 4 parts to this series, but I'm hoping we can still do it in 3. Right now, though, I'm going to go and do my squad audit. I'm going to set up the team ready for how we're going to play season number 9, as well as I think it's time to go and find an affiliate club. As soon as that tick over is done, I reckon now's the time that they might say yes. Also, we are only 1 month away from moving into our brand new Catanzaro Stadium. And maybe then I'll throw it open to you guys to come up with a really cool name for it. And I'll make a picture for it and all that type of stuff. Let's, though, go and get ourselves ready for our 9th season at the club. Okay, this is the first 11 heading into our 9th season. I've done my audit, and there are a few players that have made the first team that weren't here before. Players like Rafa's very much integrated now. Bazzano, I've brought into this first team as well. He made 1 appearance so far, but at 17, he could be that attacking midfielder that I've talked about previously. He looks like he's still got a bit of potential, and I like where some of his attributes are, like long shots and technique and flair and good agility and decent passing and vision. Well, passing's not great, but vision's pretty good. Maybe he could become that guy. He's now in the first team fold. Petraka, another striker in there. Some of the other names I'm pretty sure that you would just recognize from before. Petrosioni, by the way, is still here. I couldn't get rid of him. He's got this 1 year left on his contract. So this will be his last season at 36. He's got even slower. 4 acceleration, 4 pace. He's got 3 strength now. I really should not be playing him in any games. He's got 206 appearances. That actually reminds me, I think Claudio Ranieri is our record appearance maker. If I go to records, that's managers. If I go to records, he has now been overtaken by Jari van der Putte. Okay, interesting. Somebody did point out Ranieri, who's a club legend here at Catanzaro. Van der Putte, who's also still here at 35 and still okay. Did play less last year than he has done in most seasons, only 20 starts, but is still needing to be used every now and then. I've called him the best player for many, many seasons, haven't I? He is actually our record ever appearance maker. That's fun. Did I ever beat the young player record? No, Zilli still holds that at 15 years, 156 days, and he's still our youngest ever goal scorer as well. I wonder if we could get one of our new gen players to become the oldest goal scorer and oldest ever appearance maker, oldest player. That would be full circle on this save, wouldn't it? If we could get a 30, imagine it could be Zilli for both. If we can keep Zilli playing until he's basically 39, it seems unlikely. Domenico Giampa was that guy. Was he a goalkeeper? I reckon. I'm going to guess that he was a goalkeeper when he played in 2016 for them. That's a fun thing to look at as well. Actually, I'm going to quickly show you the best 11 of the saves so far, because I find this screen, probably the most interesting in every save that I do, because it's so nostalgic. It takes you back to all of the players that have been here. Players like Pietro Yamello, who's now retired, doesn't want to be a staff member. That's a shame, isn't it? D'Angelo, let's check in on him. As he played at Chelsea, he's played one game in his career at Chelsea. And by the way, I did cash in that clause. So we got ourselves, I think it was like 8 million extra in the end. I think it was slightly less than it was before, but I'm glad that we did get that extra money for him. Petrosioni, 193 games. Scognamillo got 236. Matasera, out of our players that are, he's not even a new gen, but the young players, he's got 223. Out of the new gens, it's actually not Zilli, it's Pasqualini that's got the most, 196. I think that's right. Just ahead of Gargano on there. That's surprising. Not one that I actually show you all that much, but he's just a solid, okay footballer for us. He's got good physicals, which carries him, I think, further than maybe his other abilities should do. Good technique as well. He scored 40 goals in 199 games for us. He's one away from 200 appearances in our time for us. So fair play to Pasqualini. Now, though, I've got some other updates that I need to share with you. As we go into our 9th season at the club, we had some news that our training facilities had dropped down. They had gone to 4.5 stars, which is not the end of the world, especially because I went to the board and asked for them to give us new ones, and they actually said yes. So in 3 months, that'll go back up to 5 stars. But what you will also notice on here is that I finally got them to say yes to an affiliate club. Defensor Sporting are now officially an affiliate club of ours, and I'm quite excited about this one because they're a Uruguayan side. I think it was Ugarte that came through here, I want to say. I remember signing Ugarte before he became very well known on an old FM, and I'm pretty sure it was from Defensor Sporting. In fact, is it listed on here? I thought that was him. It's Anderson Duarte, not Ugarte. No, it's not listed on their favoured players. But the reason I've chosen them is that they have got 5-star youth recruitment. They've got okay youth facilities, but those 5-star youth recruitments means that they may send academy players to train here to gain experience, and we may benefit with some of these players coming through our youth team ranks, which would be very, very cool if we got some good Uruguayan youngsters coming through. You get quite a lot of Uruguayan Wonderkids on Football Manager, don't you? So that's massive news I need to share you. Along with this here, the Catanzaro Stadium is now officially our ground. We have moved in to the 23,750 capacity ground, and it needs a picture and it needs a name. So I'm going to throw it out to you guys. Can you help me to rename the Catanzaro Stadium, or should we wait until somebody becomes a club legend? At the moment, we've got Ranieri, Palanza, and Mazzoni, who are not our players. Franch got closest out of the players that played for us. He's now a coach, actually. Maybe he should be a coach for us. Would you like to be done? Oh, by the way, our coaching, I have been working on it. We've got the best coaching setup, bar one of the goalkeeping training things. Otherwise, we are the best coaching setup in the league, which is quite cool as well. So we've got state-of-the-art training. Actually, it was state-of-the-art. It will be again. Superb training and the best coaching staff. So the players should be developing to the maximum based on that. But maybe we should wait until somebody becomes an icon, one of our new gens, and the first icon new gen to name it. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about the new stadium in the comments of today's video. But that is where we're going to leave it for today. We have won our first game of the new season. Campani and Rullo have scored the goals in that one. And as we build towards hopefully going better than 9th place last season, I feel like we're fully invested in this journey now. But today's video has already been so long, so I think it's time to take a bit of a break. I'll be back in a couple of days with the next edition of this, and I'm hoping that we've built ourselves a base that we can push on to getting it finished in the next video. That's the dream, but if we don't, we'll do another video after that, won't we? Thank you so much for watching today. If you've made it to the end, you can leave a comment of Forza Campani, which I imagine is Italian or something. That can show me you've got to the end and you are a proper legend. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Leave a like on the video, and whilst you're here, if you really like this and you cannot wait for more content from me, watch the video that pops up at the end of the video as well, because I'm sure it'll be a good one. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.